Hello, folks. I'm Joe Wesley, and my guest today is.
John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. And it is a privilege and pleasure to be here with you, Joe. I know I've been waiting for a long time for this, so I'm very excited to be here today.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. And I do appreciate that. For you who are visiting us for the first time, thank you. We do appreciate this. For those of you who are coming back, we thank you even more. Those who aren't familiar with, I call it my mom factor, my method of madness. What we talk about is discovering one's secret sauce that's unique to that persona, that person that nobody else can lay claim to. And the purpose of this session is, are you prepared to take the hot seat challenge to find an ingredient of your secret sauce? Now, this is not scripted. It's not rehearsed. I do have to let you know, folks, I do take notes. So you see me looking down every now and then. I have an awful memory. So right now I have a blank pad with just John's name on it. And for points that I will develop, and I do that by asking what's his favorite pastime, because your pastime goes to your passion. Your passion goes to who you are. I could ask, well, tell me about yourself. Well, I've had 3 marriages. I've sold 5 businesses. I have 8 grandchildren. Yeah, it talks about the person, but doesn't explain who the person is. So with that being said, I'm going to ask John, what's your favorite pastime?
Oh boy, I've got so many.
Well, let me do this way. When you were 7 years old, because many men will start in our fairness, men will start in their productive years of life. When you're between 6 or 7, was there something in particular you really enjoyed doing?
Yeah, I like to take apart these expensive FAO Schwartz cars. They were meant to be used for, playing remote control, but I found another angle with them, which was to take them apart and figure out what else I could build with them. People always had a heart attack because these cars were not cheap. And my grandparents would go to New York to get me. I was one of the very first to get these cars because remote control cars were not like in every store at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always intrigued by stuff like that. It was just amazing too.
Now, for those of us who aren't aware of the brand name of the car, are these toy cars? Are they full cars? I'm not clear exactly how that works.
So FAO Schwartz, they're still in business today. So FAO Schwartz is kind of like it's like the be all end all whenever you want to basically get the latest before it comes into mainstream. You go to FAO Schwartz and you get it. But these were high end remote control cars. They were like pretty much a lot of metal. It was plastic on them, but they basically had batteries in them. You turned it on, and there was a little remote control, and you basically the original ones you could just press the button and you could have it go, and then the other ones would let you go forward and backward, and then more advanced ones would let you steer.
And so your first thought and your first inclination, your hands on the car, is to start taking it apart, yes?
Yeah, I like to be able to take them apart, put them back together, but also see what makes this car tick.
Okay. Interesting. So once you take them apart, did you at any time try to put them back together, or was it?
I did. Sometimes I put them back together. Sometimes I would build something else, like a better remote control car, or I'd use the motor for another purpose.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I like to take certain cars. I like to see how they make them. I also was impressed to see how much they make the outside facade look so beautiful, and on the inside it's very minimalistic. They still do that today. If you buy like let's say a surge protector, you rip it apart and see the inside. I'm like, this looks terrible. This looks like it shouldn't even be on the market. It looks so minimalistic. On the outside, it looks like the Taj Mahal. On the inside, it's like, well, could they put a little design in this? It's like there's nothing in here.
So, okay, so that's an observation. I get that. So the outside, lots of fluff. Inside, not much going on. Was that part of the fascination to you?
I think the fascination to me was just seeing what's inside this. I called it a stupid thing. What's inside this stupid thing that makes it work? And I would get something like, oh, this is the only thing they're using? That's how they're doing that? Oh, that's a terrible way to do that.
Okay, so this began, I'm assuming, what, around 5-ish maybe in terms of age?
5 to 6 probably.
Okay, so now we get to be 7 to say 8 and 9. Did your interest diverge in another direction?
I got more into building like erector sets and capsella, and got more into electronics. And in fact, in school, my grandfather on my dad's side would always pick me up from First Friday school. We had First Friday. I went to a parochial school, and he'd say, "John, what do you wanna build today?" I don't know. So we'd go to our local hardware store, or Rickles or Channel, which was the popular at the time. Or we had this local town and country hardware store right in our shopping center, and we'd go get some wire and some other stuff. And then
Right.
I'm like, "Oh, Grandpa, I think I want to make a doorbell today." Okay, well, we'll go get some wire. We'll go get a button. Oh, I want one with a light in it. Yeah, we can get one with a light in it. I want a buzzer. Well, maybe I want a bell. No, let's get a buzzer. Let's get a bell too. And then we kind of build stuff. And then I'd go home and Grandma would have lunch for us. And then we'd go to my place, my parents' place, and then we'd start building.
Right. Interesting.
And
So,
I just like that. And he said, "John, you could have whatever you want. The only thing is you cannot build anything that uses electricity."
mm-hmm.
So we use the same concepts, while obviously being safe and stuff like that, right? So it was something that intrigued me for a very, very long time.
Okay. So you say it intrigued you for a very long time. That sounds almost past tense. Did you another stage of?
Well, you have to understand that was a while ago, and I still like doing that kind of stuff, but that was like something that kind of got the engine going of just the whole curiosity of things. And as I grew up, I started getting involved in more complicated things like
Right.
motors and it's all low voltage. And then I got more into things like 50 and 1, 101, doing wiring. Got very much into soldering. Before I was even in high school, I was making my own parallel and serial cables with a vise and a lot of patience.
Right.
And at the time, most people will use, these soldering guns, but they have a very thick tip on them. So I got one with a thin tip. The problem is that you always have to plug the stupid thing in the wall. So mine that I wound up getting, I found one that I said, I wonder if they make a soldering iron that actually is cordless. Oh, I found one. It's still made today. And I was able to change the tips, and I was able to solder with a little device, maybe no bigger than this.
Right.
And I got that, and I just love being able to have the power of soldering right in my hand.
Mm-hmm. This, I'm going to hazard a guess. You say power of soldering. Is it the power itself, or what comes as a result of the soldering?
It's the result. It's the fact that I can produce a solder connection without having to have a long soldering gun with an extension cord. I mean, I can make a quick, simple solder, and you charge it for an hour, and I have enough for 45 minutes to an hour to solder. To do different things, but you don't need much time. So I always, I think it was only last year, I got very impressed with buying a cordless glue gun, just because I wanted one, and I hated using a power one with the wire.
Excuse me, a cordless what? Again, I didn't get that second word.
Cordless glue gun.
What is the glue bar? I'm not getting
gun. Glue gun.
Okay, glue gun. I'm sorry, I'm not a technical kind of guy. I get that.
No problem. So they make guns that are very cheap. You can get them from China and stuff, and they're like under $5.
Right.
But they're very cheap and they're dangerous. So I wanted to get one that was cordless.
Right.
I think I bought a Roby or a DeWalt, I forget which, and I used it for a project, and I got very impressed with the fact that, again, I had that power to glue.
Okay.
So that was something that intrigued me. I also got intrigued with other types of power tools, like, not so much drills, but also power screwdrivers, not so much saws. But I love to have the power of torque and learning about torque and different types of drill bits and things like that. Because if you didn't have enough torque, or if it was enough, you could strip the screw. So you had to set it. So I learned about that kind of stuff. And sometimes it still pays to just use a plain old screwdriver so you can have exactly what you need. Because you still can't set it precise enough that you don't crack the screw.
Okay. I hear that. And so were there things that I'm almost hearing an artistic concept that you don't solder for the sake of soldering or gluing. You're actually creating something also?
Well, there was a need to use glue for a project.
Right.
And, whenever you have to do stuff, it's always such a hassle. You have to use screws or other things or other glue. And I'm like, and that glue works, but it's not as strong as, so if you ever used a glue gun, that's like tremendously powerful. If
I
you
hear
use
that.
industrial strength glue, I can use glue that'll hold a magnet in the ceiling.
I hear that.
Put magnets on a door for alarm system. And there's so much you could do with it. And it pretty much bonds to almost any surface.
Okay.
Metal, plastic, wood. I mean, it's a be all end all. You could be
Hmm.
on a camping trip, and if you need a glue gun, I mean, it's always handy to have you could have a glue gun with you. So I
Right.
just thought of a lot of practical application. You know what I mean?
I hear that. Now, so let me, some of you've worked with erector sets as a young person, yes?
I have many times.
So then were you gluing that and soldering that, or is it you kind of
Well,
stay
you don't glue or solder an erector set. An erector set is all metal. You
right?
use screws. You
Hmm.
use wires. You have to figure out what things are like. One things you build, you might build a crane.
Right.
So you have to do a little mechanical. Capsella was very similar. You would put these plastic these little, if you will, they're like these plastic little spheres, if you will, and they
Hmm.
connect together with little, basically hex connectors, and that's what holds them together.
I hear that.
And so you could build things like a boat. You could build a windmill.
Hmm.
I love Legos a lot. So I like when you could use batteries to produce
Right.
something. I love to make all kinds of different science experiments. I really had a lot of fun with that.
You said make signs.
Experiments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
for
thought
school and stuff. Like I would do science fairs.
oh, science. Okay, sorry. That folks have a slight head cold, so I'm not hearing very well on that. My apologies
Oh,
on that.
oh, sorry. Okay,
I got you. Now, let me do a slight commercial break before I forget, folks,
sure.
that we have, for those who are observing us, it's simultaneously broadcasted through LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And we ask if you have comments, you have questions, please share that back to us. It will be in the description section on how to link up. We do audit comments, we do respond to them, and we would love your feedback. Good, bad, well, I won't say indifferent, but certainly we can learn a lot from what you had to offer back to us. Also, remember to share what we're saying with your friends, your associates. You want to learn more about my guest today, John, be sure to look at his link, follow up with him. I do ask that you subscribe to my site also and share this with everybody else out there. So, end of commercial break. What I'm going to do at some point, again, when I feel I've asked enough questions to get a sense of who is this masked man, this guy, John, as a persona, we then slide into his business. So right now we know him as taking the hot seat challenge, my 27th one. But I'm going to ask you
Wow.
now in terms of what, first off, your hat, I see it glowing. What is that? Could you share that with the rest of us?
Yeah, so basically, it's a way to get people's attention. It's a program I have. And so, what I do is I send different things to it. And right now, it has my motto and my website on it, which is you can see it kind of keeps cycling. First one is
Right.
believe. You can see believe. And then after
Hmm.
believe, it goes to me. And then it goes to achieve. And then I have .com. So, believemeachieve.com is what I stand for. That's where all my content is for all my social media. And it comes from the premise of why I live every day. I live for only two reasons, Jeff:
Hmm.
to become a better version of myself and help others become better versions of themselves.
Right. Very nice. Well, then that goes into who is this guy, John of sorts? What got you in the path of what you're doing currently?
Hmm. Well, you probably know that I'm an engineer from our previous conversations. And I didn't really understand the language of people. So
Okay.
I said, I need to just learn the language of people. So that meant a couple things: going back to get certified in hypnosis and clinical hypnotherapy,
Right.
studying neurolinguistic programming, graduating from the Silva Institute from Silva Mind Control, and also going back and just learning about communication. The fact that
Right.
our nonverbal is actually the highest potential rate than our we basically have what we say, how we say it, and then we have our nonverbal. Well, in the
Okay.
order of priority, it goes with what we don't say, our nonverbal, then it goes to how we say it, and then what we say is the lowest priority.
Hmm.
So to me, I said it's just another language. Like Is that
Okay.
Pascal, C, Basic, Beginner's All-Purpose Instructional Code, Python? It's another language, Joe. That's all it is. So
Hmm.
I said I need to start mastering the language of people, the language of communication. A while back, I had a tech show, but then I decided to start a IFYL, Inspiration for Your Life, which is my daily show,
Right.
and which we have probably around 160,000 people now,
Okay.
and we're broadcasted all over. But the reason I did that is I wanted people to understand that they could get nuggets that they could apply to their life right now. So I
Hmm.
can lead you to water, but I cannot make you drink it.
Right.
Or do I want to?
And so the nuggets is ah, you said you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink the water. I get that. So you provide nuggets. Do you have a technique to make those nuggets enticing to your audience, to your market?
I do. I do. There are different techniques I use depending on what the topic is. So there's a whole variety of them. Depending
Right.
on what I'm teaching, there's a lot of techniques, but a big one I use is I always make sure that I build upon what somebody knows. So if I've
Okay.
got an audience, I find out what my audience knows, and my keynote or whatever I'm talking about will always be based on what you know. For example,
Okay.
if I'm talking to, I'm going to teach, let's say, cooking, but you've never cooked before in your life, but I happen to know that you're a chemist.
Right.
Well, I know that being a chemist, you have to be very precise, right? When you use the right chemicals and put them in the right order at the right time, there's timings. If you do it wrong, what can happen? Well, you can have an explosion. You can have no reaction. You can destroy the experiment, right? You can get bad results. So same thing that happens in the kitchen. Just like
Hmm.
we have our thing in the lab of all the different, let's say, ingredients when we want to make something, right? We always do acid to base, not base to acid. So
Right.
if we start out with what we have in the kitchen, we have something different. It comes from the French. It's called
Right.
mise en place. So if I
Okay.
was teaching somebody how to do that, I would say, gee, let's go back to the days of, when you learned to be a chemist, right? What was the most important thing? Safety. Well, safety is important in the kitchen too. Not quite as important as it is in the chemistry lab, because the most dangerous thing in the kitchen is you could basically, burn yourself, or you could cause contaminants in food, which is still dangerous, but it doesn't have an immediate impact. It's still dangerous.
Okay.
So there's a different perception there. And also the whole point that measuring. This is why if you're learning to be a dessert chef and you're a chemist, they're very synonymous, because you have to know exactly how much beryllium, exactly how much sugar,
Hmm.
exactly how much water, exactly how much flour, or how many eggs, or do we need egg whites? You get the idea. So whenever I teach somebody something, Joe, I always figure out what is it they know. They
Okay.
might say, well, gee, they don't know anything. I said, well, yeah, you know something. Maybe you weren't a chemist, but maybe, I don't know, maybe you did something else. Maybe you were involved in mixing paint. You were making
Right.
paint for Benjamin Moore or something. So I would try to find something in your life that dealt with measuring. I'm like, okay, so you already know how to measure. So you know
Right.
the importance. What happens if you measure paint wrong? Well, you get the wrong color. Well, if we measure
Hmm.
wrong in the kitchen, we burn something. Our cake doesn't take up, or it tastes terrible.
Right. Interesting. Well, I'm going to share some observations of
Okay.
sorts. Intriguing. Before I do that, do you have a core mission in your business for your market, your clients?
So I have a few businesses. The big core that I would say is I help people become better versions of themselves.
Okay.
And in turn of that, I mostly I work with entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs. Not that I won't work with a business owner. It's just that I work with people that are more passionate.
Okay.
People that are business owners might decide to retire in a year. Like, they're not doing it for the right reasons. Everybody
Hmm.
starts as a business owner, don't get me wrong. But if you're in your business 5, 6 years and you're still a business owner, well, probably not going to last very long.
Hmm.
You've got to be passionate about what you're doing.
Okay.
That's one
I
of my
hear that.
big secrets, is being passionate about everything I do.
Fair enough. Well, for those who saw us, thank you for that input, and I
Sure.
appreciate this. For those of you in the audience that began with us at the start of this series, I showed a blank sheet of paper making notes on. That blank sheet of paper is now full of stuff on it.
Uh-oh.
And I
I'm,
have
I'm
to
in trouble now.
I have to stop asking questions. I'm running out of space.
All
That
right. All
being
right. That's a good thing. All right.
that being said, I'm going to start at the end and work backwards. Usually I start the beginning and work forwards. You say you want to help your clients to be better versions of themselves.
Yes, sir.
Now, easy enough said, I guess, by any number of people. But what I'm seeing here in pattern is the technique. Actually, I'm going to skip to the beginning. You talk
All
about
right.
taking things apart. And I suspect you didn't do it simply because you had a destructive mindset. You were really
No,
curious.
no, 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 no. I
Okay,
did it because I was curious,
okay, thank you.
insatiable curiosity.
John, I can do this on my own. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
sorry.
I'm not asking for feedback at this point,
Oh,
but
okay. Oh, you
I appreciate your help. That's funny. Actually, yeah, I'm on spot, folks. So I kind of know what I'm doing here, having said that. So it is a reaffirmation that not so much a matter of simple curiosity, but not simple curiosity. What makes it tick? Maybe an astonishment, if I'm hearing it correctly, that, geez, it has a lot of fluff on the outside, but not function on the inside. And I get a sense of dissatisfaction on your part. And I do ask that you interrupt me. I'm really off on my dialogue here because we
oh,
all
okay,
the
okay,
audience
okay,
might.
okay, okay.
Okay, we need feedback. So then you talk about, and it's more than just, and you begin into the soldering concept, where it's the fascination, not so much of the technique of it, but putting things together in a manner that is solid. And when I say solid, maybe secure. You talk about being able to hang a magnet from the wall, perhaps, because you can solder it there. It's not enough to use a little bitty nail and hammer to make things happen. So it has to have a solid foundation. It has to have a sensible structure. I'm going to skip a little bit. You talk about not satisfied unless what you're looking at is also functional. So it can be cute, it can be pretty, but if it doesn't have a value behind that, it's kind of like the empty car syndrome, despite the fluff on the outside that I'm hearing you talk about. You talk about the power. I wrote down, I forgot whether you say it or I say it, but the power of glue, or the power to be able to
I did.
glue, the
Yes,
power
I
to be
said that.
able to
Yes,
solder.
yes.
It's all the same thing, bring it in a cohesive manner, making it stick in a manner or have a foundation that is going to be around for a period of time. And not something that's going to wobble 2 or 3 days later in terms of what you're doing. And again, I'm looking down at my notes and I'm twisting and turning as I'm looking at my notes here. So you like to create. And again, you're not satisfied unless it's functional. You like to figure out things, as another one of my notes. And so you talk about, as a matter of technique, built on what the audience knows. I like the reference where you said you're talking to an engineer versus an art director or a cook. You're going to have a different approach, but that means you have to get into their head to get a sense of what's the language and the concept that they're going to be able to relate to. And that's the key phrase. It must be relatable, not only to you, the business owner, but it has to also be relatable to your market you're trying to serve. Because if you're not putting it together, you're not providing a solid foundation, it's not going to have much value over that of your competition. And am I far off so far on this, or how am
No,
I
no.
doing?
That's actually why I started a second company, because I nobody could market me, and I decided to fire the largest marketing company. I built my own.
Fair enough. So the concept here is I've learned that people who want to get ahead, they say, who want to be successful, never have a marketing budget, are afraid to spend money because they're not going to get their dollar value worth. That so many people say the exact same thing, that how do I make a choice as a non-informed business owner? But here's a guy that didn't walk into this late in life because he needs to make some money. He's looking to make a hustle. He grew up like this from 5 years of age. He's already because of curiosity. What makes it tick is the phrasing of it. And in fact, as I think that phrase, he's still saying not what makes the car tick or what makes the erector set tick, what makes you, the business owner, tick. And so he wants to get inside of you. He wants to get a sense of who you are, and he wants to be of maximal value to you. He doesn't have off the shelf protocols that, oh, now that I know you're a chef or an architect or a seamstress, whatever it may be, let's communicate in a manner that connects with you. And it's not just to give you information. It has to be given in a manner that provides intrinsic value. He uses the example of being a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. No, if there's no substance value there, it's not going to drink. So his mindset, as I'm seeing it, is get inside your head of sorts, your psyche, perhaps better put, providing you environment that is intuitive for you, and then not just stop there, provide an environment that's also intuitive for your ideal market. That once we put the pieces together and we do the soldering and the gluing, he helps you create a product, a service, whatever it may be, that
Hmm.
grabs at your audience. How am I doing so far?
No, I
Good.
think you're right on track. The only thing I would add is that when we talk about the nuggets and why I do a certain way, it's about their foundation and getting what I talk about to latch on something they already know.
Hmm.
Just about building. It's the fact that I've got to get glue to latch on a substance that can actually adhere the glue.
Sure.
I have to make sure that the primer I like to say I'm putting down is gonna stick to the paint.
I hear that. So what I'm hearing or observing is this is not a technique of, well, we have an off the shelf category 396.8. This is going to work for you. I'm seeing a guy here who says, hey, well, who are you? What are you? Where are you? And he may not be quite in that bullet point format, but will take the time to get a sense of you, your persona. Kind of like what I'm doing from a different angle, I would think. That what's
Mhm,
your sauce of sorts? What is it about you that's
mhm,
unique to
mhm.
you that the competition can't mimic? That not only discover it, but find the value behind it enough that your ideal market will respond to it. Um, Anything you want to take? This is where I am on this, folks. The whole purpose is, what is it about a guy or a woman, a business owner, that you, the consumer, would say, I have a certain need and I'm not sure who to go to. I'm not sure who I can trust with my money, my resources. If what you're hearing about John C. Morley rings a bell with you, grabs at your psyche, then he's certainly your go-to person in the things you're trying to accomplish. Anything you want to take us home with, John, in terms of
And
a.
I didn't stop. I didn't just stop there.
Mhm.
I didn't have to. So I had been a writer for a while, but my writing had not really been notable for a while. So
Right.
about a little over 7 years ago, I submitted some stuff to international press,
Hmm.
and they wrote back to me, and they said to me, "We can't approve you for like 4 weeks." So I've
Hmm.
now been with them 7 years and about 4 months. So I wanted to go, and this is the same reason I'm going back for more degrees because I want to keep up my credit. I want to keep up because I believe I'm always learning,
Hmm.
and I never stop learning. So
Okay.
that's the whole point. This is why I love doing my shows because every time I have a guest on, I'm reading a book that's 100 to 500 pages. I
Mm.
think we always have to have that adaptation, but we know a lot of business owners, they don't want to learn.
Hmm.
They have the premise that I'm right. And I'm like, well, I might be right. I might be wrong. Let's see why I'm right. Let's see why you're wrong. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. But people that are not open to that,
Hmm.
you can't give them guidance. So I just tell people, I'm happy to help. I'm a great storyteller, but I
Right.
come up with a story from your core truth.
Hmm.
So one lady said to me, it was a few months ago, she says, John, she says, I want you to put down on paper, we're the best. And they
Mm.
were doing some cupcakes or something. I said, well, do you make the best cupcakes? She said, oh, she says, yeah. She says, my mom says they're great. My boyfriend says they're great. I said, okay, but were you published anywhere? No, but we're the greatest. Can you just change these two words? If you just send me the file, I'll edit it. I said, no, it's not that. Well, what's the problem? She said, well, what do you want? More money? I said, no, it's not that. So she starts naming amounts of money, and I keep saying no, 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 no for all the amounts. She said, well, how much do you want? I said, maybe you don't know enough about me and how I work. It's not about the money, it's about the core truth.
Hmm.
So I will write your story from your truth once I validate it. I will use your truth if it is truth, but I will not write something unless I can validate its truth for myself.
Okay.
A lot of
And.
people, they just want to wave the flag and hope it gets attention. And that
Hmm.
will get you some people in the stadium or into your classroom or into your store. But
Hmm.
these people are not going to stick. They're going to come for what I'll call it as the gimmick, right? The free this or the free that, but they're not customers. They're not
Hmm.
clients. They're people that come in because they saw a deal. My deal is the fact that I want to get to know who you are
Hmm.
and I want to get to know where you want to go. And if you can just share me those things, I can help lead you on that path, whether it's through conscious, subconscious tools, but just getting your frame or your mindset into the right direction. Because I think a lot of people want to go down this road,
Hmm.
but they don't know necessarily what vehicle they need to get on that road with.
Fair enough. Well, thank you for that. And actually, it's art form. Again, these are unrehearsed, they're not scripted. And I think you've made a great summary of what I've been trying to say. Again, for those of you who have interest to learn more about John C. Morley, his link will be in the description section of this presentation. For those who, again, would like to learn more about what I do, feel free to connect with me, leave comments. We do audit, we do respond. And please share and subscribe to hear more such programs. Thank you, John, for being my guest. I really appreciate this. This has been fun.
Joseph, it was great having the pre-chats with you, and I'm so glad that we finally got to do this.
Okay, thank you. See you next time, folks.